Okay, so I don't have access to the super high quality recording studio that is my dimly lit, poorly acoustically designed house at the moment. So you guys are gonna have to deal with me pointing a camera at Chance, talking from behind the camera, and listening to Chance respond to it. That's what's up this time, so get ready for it, here it comes. Okay, so Chance obviously is here, in frame, on this lovely sound recording studio we have here, which is my parents' porch. I think the first question that we all have is, how does it feel to be back into the United States?
Oh yeah, I kind of forgot about that that little fold there, the Ike implication. I'm like, man, I should post about me needing a car, but then everyone's going to know that I'm back. So here's a good way to do it, because everyone watches these. So, weird. I mean, actually, comfortable and normal is the actual answer, but weird in positioning to what all my priorities and momentum and what I had kind of built up with people around me that was going to happen. So it's just like, I know that there's many directions that I can take that's going to be fine and good. But yeah, so now it's really it's having to make some decisions that I didn't think that I was going to have to make for a while, and realizing that prioritizing hasn't gotten a whole lot easier over the years for me. But I have enough confidence in myself that I will get stuff figured out, because I tend to. I have not died or become fully destitute yet in my career as a human. But yeah, so I think there's just going to be like these layers of reconnecting with people that don't know that I'm back, because it's not feasible for me to like go and like let everyone know, because it doesn't actually even matter that much to most people in the grand scheme of things. But it reminds me that I have a lot of support in my life, which is really nice, and a lot of people that are there to like catch me when I stumble or things don't go the way that I expect, which is really comforting. I know that not everyone has that. I mean, I can, and I can also attribute that some to like the effort that I put into relationships also. Like, not that everything in life is merit-based, and there's a lot of people that probably deserve a lot more support that don't get it. So I'm not trying to put it all on the bootstraps thing. But it's nice in any case. So then, I guess to return something to you, like just like as far as like your like goals and aspirations that you've had over the past.
Oh, I'm here.
Couple, yeah.
Then you take this.
Yeah,
let's do this now.
The goals and aspirations that you've had over the past couple years. I mean, like they do change. There's a lot of things that are still like your ultimate goals, like working towards like the prosthetics and different things like that. But and I know that like things aren't always like an emotionally easy process for you. But like, what do you feel that like over time that this is becoming easier, that you're coping with things better, or like what? I guess I don't need to fill your response.
Well, I'm not really sure exactly what the question is asking per se. It sounds like you're asking how my progress with my goals how I'm treating that, like how's that going? Well, I mean, school is a lot different now. Moving from Valencia to UCF. I mean, I was at UCF before you left, but like now I'm at full-time, like degree-specific programs, and that it's not rough per se. It's a little different. The scheduling, like with Valencia classes, I could, as long as I showed up and did like the requisite homework that was either posted online or due the next day, it was fine. But now, even just the first week of class, I can kind of tell that like I'm going to have to put in extra time to like fully wrap my head around a concept or something that I might be able to like answer a question about, but I need to like fully incorporate it and understand it from as many angles as I can before I can move on to the next section, because there's simply not enough time in a larger classroom setting for every student to have that immersive experience with the concept before we move on to the next one. So that's a little weird. Speaking of larger classrooms, that is another thing that I am getting used to. There are so many other students that I am taking classes with that are, you know, learning the same material in radically different ways than I am, that I don't have, I mean, with the exception of my physics class, which Tucker is taking with me, like I don't have necessarily people to talk to in the same class to help me like as a study group or to help me understand a concept or to ask questions of. I mean, the professors and the TAs always post like, hey, we're here, office hours and stuff like that, but there's really only so much they can cover in like a 15-minute office hour session, which when you have like 1,300 students, that's about the best you can hope for. Like the external goals, aside from like specific schooling, as far as like, you know, researchships and furthering, I guess my worming into the industry and stuff like that, like not really any progress there. I don't know when the appropriate time is to start down that path, to start like actually shoehorning myself into things, but like I don't think it's yet. I have tried to contact, I guess they're called faculty mentors and stuff that are like doing research on this stuff currently, and it's not, I don't know what to say. I don't know what questions to ask them. I can read their research and like spit it back at them, but I don't have enough comprehension of the material to engage them in a way that I guess that they care about, because none of them had to email me back really.
Do you feel that FamiLab is like, since you've been with it for a little while now, that it'll be something that will be able to help you get closer to something that that you want, or not?
It certainly has the potential to do that. Like FamiLab isn't like, just being part of FamiLab doesn't necessarily do me any good. I have to like do something with it, which requires free time, which I have less and less of every day. The projects that I work on at FamiLab, though, I think if I throw myself into projects that have something to do with what I'm working on and not just like for fun, I mean, we could still be for fun, but like relevant experience and stuff like that, I think that could definitely help me in, I mean, it's like doing anything. It's like practicing your craft, I guess. If I've got some experience building robots or messing around with mitochondrial DNA or something, I don't know if we can do that at the biolab yet, but that sort of thing, I certainly could see how it would help, and if nothing else, give me something to talk about with professors that I want to mentor underneath or be mentored by, or I'm going to say that. I don't know if that was your question.
No, that was still good, and I acquired a lot of updated info. I guess the only follow up to that is like, do you feel that what you're doing is do you like feel like a motivation and confidence that like what you're doing will get you to like where you need to be, and you know, and assuming that type of a goal is something that's going to bring you happiness, do you find happiness in the process?
Okay. So you know when you go on a trip or a vacation or something and you get to the airport, let's say that you're flying to another country or something. You get to the airport and you're in the airport and you see, you know, posters for exotic places, and you know, you've got all your things and there's schedules and stuff that you know that you need to adhere to get where you're going on time, but you don't have, with the exception of like those exotic pictures in the airport or the places that you've researched online, you don't have like a clear conception of how your destination will feel or sound or smell or taste and all these, you know, tactile sensory things. You don't have any like concreteness of that. It's all abstract to you. That's sort of where I'm at right now. I'm in the airport. I'm still learning like the fundamentals to actually begin to arrive at my destination. So this goal, the cybernetics goal and all that stuff, is still this distant abstract thing. I mean, it's getting closer every day, but like I'm only beginning to like grasp at making concrete some of those abstractions as to how these ideas or these goals or these things that I want to do would even work, what I would need to do to make that happen. And what are they? Advisors help a lot with that. They, I'd say I want to do this, and they're like, okay, well, your options are one of these things. All of these paths will get you in the right area, and you kind of have to fine tune it from there. Probably have to switch my majors a couple times along the way, but who doesn't do that? As far as like the goal bringing me happiness in the process, I guess, not the goal, but the journey, not the destination, bringing happiness. Like, yeah, I like keeping busy. I like learning, and those are two things that I am doing right now. I am learning and I am very busy. So yes and yes. Now, give me the camera. It's your turn. Okay, so I guess this is somewhat of a follow-up from my last question. When my brother got back from the Peace Corps, he had a huge amount of culture shock, partly due to where he was and partly due to the length of time that he was there. So I guess my question is, since you weren't there necessarily for too long, and it didn't sound like it was too terribly radically different than being in America, was there culture shock when you arrived? And like, how did you start to like acclimate to your new environment while you were there?
I think that in a certain sense, I was hoping for a bit more differences and more. I mean, like, yeah, it feels a bit shallow to like say it so, but like a bit more like novelty in their culture. But I mean, it was definitely there, but on another point, it is a good example of like the globalization of the world and how real that is. I mean, obviously there's a lot of places that it hasn't reached, and this is a fairly unique place because it was under American control, like Puerto Rico was for some time. But even then, it's just like the more that I would kind of get used to, like, oh, this is like America, then it would kind of like not be really, and it'd just be like this doppelganger. So like you really couldn't. You really couldn't count on a lot of things. It's like, like the killer smiles and a killer 7. It's like they almost seem like they're people at first, and then this is not to like demonize the people. It was just very strange how like, it's like they would know a lot of like the names and references to things like without context. Necessarily, or not the same context, or it's like they would, they would, it's like watching. But I mean, I guess it's like the reverse weeaboo thing. Really, is.
What do you mean?
It just, like they can really be into that culture and almost just kind of like a I just want to escape my own thing, and like granted, it's has a much bigger reality for the people in this culture than something just like a weeaboo that's just like needs to fill their free time. Here there's like the whole thing where like it's not for everyone, but there's still like this large drive to like meet like an American male and then like that's your ticket out of the country.
That's interesting.
Yeah, like I had never I always like heard about this type of thing, but it was a lot more jarring to actually be like downtown in Manila and going into a bar and just like this place was just full of older white men just being just with Filipino women just like draping all over them, and it was, I don't know, it's those things I know exist, but it's just weird to see it in person.
Wow.
but no, I felt like it was all pretty incremental as far as culture shock goes, because they brought our entire batch into the little 2-week fun camp resort where like where like we weren't really experiencing the direct culture. There were Filipino staff there, and they were kind of prepping us on a lot of culture. I think that my true culture shock would have came once I had gone to my final site. That would have been for 2 years, once I wasn't around the other Americans. I think that that's when it really would have set in, because I think that to a certain extent, like my life preservers were the other Americans that like I could kind of like bounce off like these differences and things with, and you know, and be able to. And you know, it's all, it's like, you know, like even though I could speak English to other people, like I couldn't expect the same level of like understanding or like exchange, because they would, cause like it was a very strange thing, because people were more comfortable speaking their native language, of course, but the national language was Tagalog, while if you go around to different parts of the country, not everyone spoke Tagalog, but everyone spoke some English, which to me kind of makes that more the national language, because they'll speak your native tongue, which is actually fairly different. Like there was this one word, it was like between like Tagalog, the national language, and Cebuano, which I think is more spoken like the mountain regions, and there was this word that meant that meant bird in Tagalog, and then like something very like opposite, like snake, or like some type of like a ground thing. So it's just like weird how it's like the same word, but then it's like just throwing like these opposite meanings, like not even like close to each other. And I'm not like, and the grammar structures weren't necessarily the same, so it's so like that was kind of weird, because it's like I was kind of like building up for the expectation that like I'm gonna learn Tagalog and then go somewhere else and then not speak Tagalog and then start learning this new language, except I wouldn't be having like the benefit of like 4-hour classes daily.
Right.
So
jeez.
And like I would kind of have to. I was talking to a resource volunteer, which means someone that had been around for at least a year, that had come to help out, and she was learning something different. And she would work Monday through Thursday, and then her language day would be Friday, and like she had to kind of set that up on like her own, and find a teacher and stuff like that. I think that the cost was still covered, or at least part of our stipend and stuff like that. So like she has to like make it work within her budget, basically.
Right. Yeah.
But no, yeah. So from what I experienced, no, there wasn't a large degree of culture shock entering. I mean, like certainly more than returning, because I wasn't there for that
Right.
long.
Yeah.
But yeah, just I think that my biggest shock was just how prevalent that English was. And most of the signs were in English. I found a newspaper that was in English. Someone said that, like, oh, you know, like, English is more concise and it's cheaper to print.
I mean, yeah, that's true. Harder to learn, but so a little slight follow up here. Speaking of culture shock, how do you feel about all the shit that's gone down since you left in America?
Well, I mean, I was kind of, I think that part of me was looking forward to being a little bit more detached from the situation. And I mean, now, like, granted, like, I wasn't checking out the news while I was over there. Like as far as like what was going on in America, and since I've been back, I mean, yeah, like I I'm not sure if this is a flaw or not, but I've not been real dialed into it. I mean, the fact that that like Trump is still like this serious consideration is just like this persistent thing, like this like this joke that's gone on like for too long that like we really need to just like let it rest. But are there any things in particular?
No, I'd have to think about specifically all the things that you missed, and I'm not sure what they are off the top of my head. Mostly just horrendous violence, racial matters, all sorts of bull crap.
Well, yeah. I mean, I mentioned this a bit earlier, but there was still, even talking about like Trump and wanting to distance myself from that. Like there was a very a Trump-esque figure that is the new president of the Philippines. So like it's not like it was really much better. It's like this was kind of like the being able to like live in like the future world of like how things could be, and I guess like now it's like my responsibility to stop it from coming true.
You've been sent back in time to change one thing. Make it count.
And it actually is back in time. It's like 12 hours back in time.
That's not a whole lot of time to change things. Alright.
Okay, because it's been on my mind lately. How do you personally process and express frustration and anger?
Oh man, I mean, I'm sure that anyone who actually watches this video is aware I am a huge whiner. I tend not to let things build up for very long, and instead I just vent my frustration rapidly and in small bursts of like intense whining and complaining about things. There's a couple like stuff that's really important, stuff that has like a lot of emotional weight and stuff like that. I do tend to bottle up inside, and I don't know why. But like minor frustrations like daily stress, class or home life stuff, usually I just bitch about it and then it's fine and I forget about it. The really important stuff, like relationship drama or financial burdens are one of the things that I like to bottle up inside, which is a really bad idea, because then it becomes a problem later on when I could have asked for help early on when it would have actually done any good. That stuff, I usually focus my anger inwards at myself for not, like, in America we have this sort of enculturation that luck and timing that are beyond your control are attributed to the person. Like, somebody who ends up homeless, that's their fault, regardless of whether or not it is. Like, misfortune is on the person that it happens to. And I'm a very unlucky person, and I'm sure that people who know me have noticed. But that's my fault. I feel for whatever, cultural or maybe non-cultural, I don't have enough, like, removal from it to say what the reason is, but, like, stuff... Puck had brought up a point in the video that he did where, like, if two bad things happen to me, then the universe is out to attack me. Like, that is true. I feel that frequently, and then, there's this weird sort of Catholic guilt that I've done something wrong, because that's obviously the only reason that bad things could be happening is because I deserve it. And so I have to, like, examine everything and figure out what it is that I'm doing wrong and what I can do better, when really what I should be doing is just, oh, this sucks, what can I do to fix it? So to, like, really answer your question, my frustrations and my anger, I turn them into myself, and I beat up myself a lot. Usually will either punch something or cry a lot, grit my teeth, and then wait for someone to offer me a solution. I have tried, like, ideally what I would do, what I've tried to do, is I would talk about it with either parties who are related to the frustration or with parties that I trust that can help me, and like remove the emotional aspect of it through venting, and then work on the logical aspect, you know, as a collaborative project, because that's what humans do, we collaborate, and then come to a solution or a course of action or a support framework in that method. But that is obviously not what I actually do. I hope that answered your question.
Okay. Yeah. No. I think that we all have the idealized versions of what we would do, and I guess that I identify that as probably what I need to work the most on emotionally. But is it something else for you? Like, is like the anger and like frustration side not what you feel that and whichever direction that you want to take it, like is there something else that you feel that needs more curation, and to like what extent do you actively try to think about like, oh, like these are things that I need to change about myself, or do they only like really come kind of like after that emotion has like washed over you?
I mean, that's sort of a big question. There's like pretty much everything. There are very few things that I feel are in their complete state with myself. Like it's human beings, particularly myself, is a constant, you know, fixer-upper project, because the world outside of me is changing and I need to adapt, and it's changed before I've adapted to the previous state of things, so it's just a constant project. If I had to identify like the biggest things that I need to work on, my communication skills. I'm great at shitting data out, but the fidelity of the data and like the appropriate subtext and whatnot, like a lot of things I say make a great story, but they're not necessarily high quality expression of information that people need. It's great for entertainment, but like if I'm trying to coordinate, like when we're moving houses, or if there's a problem within a social group and whatnot, communicating data between parties that are involved that need to know that data, I'm not the best at relaying it in a one-to-one point, which, yeah, you know, human beings aren't great at that anyway. The telephone game is a great example of that, but like I particularly am the point where that data breaks down. If somebody tells me something, I take in the grand concepts of it and then paraphrase the fuck out of it, usually add some hyperbole and colorful language, like my own like reading of their subtext, and then communicate that instead, when really what I need to be doing is communicating that data, you know, as it was given to me, because that's generally the point of a messenger. So that's a big one. The other one is I'm pretty good at responsibilities in general, but like prioritizing responsibilities, I will oftentimes, and I think that you probably have this problem as well, I will oftentimes put time-sensitive things that other people are concerned with above my own time-sensitive things. So I will try to take care, like if, you know, somebody needs a ride somewhere, I will go and do that first before I finish the homework that is due at the same time as their ride. Or that's not an actual example, but things of that nature. Mm-hmm. I need to be able to separate the needs of, I guess, what I would consider the community from my own needs as two separate things, and put mine on a slightly higher priority than that. And then the third thing is I'm really flaky. I shouldn't do that. Like, people will invite me to things and I'll be like, yeah, maybe I'll show up, and then I won't, or I just won't communicate at all and tell people I'll be places and then don't follow through with that. So that's, yeah, I should probably do that.
Maybe it's not a yes, but I think that, yeah, I think that I've been kind of realizing that relying on maybe less is, like, it's almost better to just go with no and then later say yes than to use a maybe, like, whatsoever.
Like, oh, it's a surprise I showed up after all!
Because a maybe is actually just is just fairly useless.
Yes, it is. I will add that I probably have things that I need to work on that are more important than those. It's a strong possibility, but those are the things that, with my own bias of being me, that I can identify. I'm sure that if you ask Jessica or Puck or Sabine or even you, that people who know me the most, that they will have a different list of things that I need to work on in a different order. But that's what I see from my point of view, which is what I got to work with.
Well, what most people would say that you need to change are aspects that can make you more like them.
And who am I to say that they're wrong? Maybe they got it all figured out.
They all do.
There's the latest Monster Hunter game. There's a great quote from a little side quest. The Moga Chief is like, I need you to get this really great food that I heard about. It's called pig dung. And then he's like, haha, I'm just kidding. It's actually these like shellfish or whatever. But then he like stops and he like leans back a little bit and he's like, although the joke really would be on me if pig dung is a delicacy. And so that's how I feel about the people trying to change aspects of me. Like, the joke would be on me if I just like dismissed that out of hand, that maybe they are doing it the right way. I don't know. Perhaps pig dung is delicious. We'll never know. Alright, I think I got a question. This one, we can edit this out if you don't want to answer it, because I don't know like what sensitivity this topic is, but like I'll ask it in a general way just in case. Relationships that you have with people obviously were influenced by the, I guess, timing of your leaving. Most of your important relationships were just basically on hold, probably indefinitely, until you just until such a time that you decided that you were coming back. But like, there were certain relationships, people that you met, people that you had intended to hang out with and never got a chance to. Like, how do you feel that coming back before your projected return date will affect, for lack of a better term, your social life?
Well, and that social life largely rests on me returning to Orlando, which is the goal.
Yeah.
Because that wasn't the case, then zero. And people that are really that I consider that are pretty close to me, then it's essentially no change. I mean, like, I almost like there's just parts of me that like wants more admonishment, but I think as Glenn had put it, it's like, you've already punished yourself enough. I know you. So, yeah, like, when it comes to those secondary things, like, it is kind of weird, because, I mean, like, it was a point of conversation for a very, like, large portion of time, and just to kind of flow back, like, in one way, like, it's an easy, like, exit from some of the things that I might consider more secondary or tertiary. And a lot of times that's kind of just based on how introverted or extroverted that I'm feeling, but I mean, there's a level of embarrassment with it, because I feel like I need to explain myself at a certain level. But I ultimately have to figure out for myself how I want to do that, because it's like I don't want to make it like a big chore, and also, I mean, I don't think that people probably even like need as many like details as I envision that. Like, I think that they will anyways. So, it's hard to say completely, but I think I'm going to be more, at least for the short term, just to be more content with those that like I really have directly reached out to begin with, and like the people that I kind of realize like are those that, and it's not even like saying anything like bad about my other friends. It's just like the current status of like the investments, of like the mutual investments that like I've put into people. I mean, I suppose, you know, and there's, I guess, like, regardless of what it is, it's like, well, you know, like, I've got the opportunity to continue that investment, so why give it up? But I think that, I mean, I don't know, I think I do a lot of things to breed some anxiety in myself, but I think I kind of, like, went past, like, my threshold a little bit about, like, of like, what I really wanted to manage. But most of that was self-imposed anyways, I mean, because it's like, it's, yeah, I mean, it's what we accept and create for ourselves. And while I think that sometimes, like, your behaviors might be, like, a little bit, like, brash and dismissive, like, over similar things, they also kind of, like, reflect, like, where you are with, like, your current, like, boundaries, needs, and energy. So, which is ultimately what I think that I need to focus on, is just validating that, and trying to see to, like, what degree that, you know, like, why it's important to have, like, some type of, like, a general approval from people. But, you know, on the same token, like, if there's a party, I'll show up eventually, and I'll end up talking to most of them anyways. So yeah, and again, because it was such a microscopic stint, that the biggest change is just a little bit of social awkwardness of like, oh, like, when's you gonna do that thing, and it's like, JK, and you know, and because, like, even, like, with you guys, like I had put off talking to y'all, which I think that in other circumstances I would have talked to y'all earlier, and I don't know, it's like, oh, like, I'll talk to Puck, I'm like, oh, I'll talk to Gamma, it's like, oh, well, I should try to talk to them, like, together, and then just then too much time, like, passed, and then it was just like, I know you're not going to be, like, upset at me, and I knew that I would eventually. I think it was just more like I had already, like, talked to, like, enough people that I was, like, fatigued by it. I was like, I already talked to, like, Mom and like Glenn and different people, so I was just like, it's like, even like when like, yeah, like when like really important things in my life happen, it's like I'll go and, like, divulge it, and, like, it's like this burning need to, and then it becomes almost like a chore for me to have to continue to divulge it.
I totally understand that.
It's like, even though that I would like the person to know, and even though that I think that they, you know, probably, like, deserve, like, the exhaustive account of it, like, I end up giving them, like, the spark notes. and then like, months later being like, oh, like, you didn't know?
I thought I told everyone, you know, who was in the room at the moment when I felt like talking. I had a short thing. I was gonna say, like, I think you know, I'm not saying that you should have done this, but I feel like a lot of people use Facebook posts for that purpose. I know that frequently if something really bad or really good happens and I don't want to tell the account a bunch, what I usually do is write a huge post about it and post it on Facebook, and, you know, no one will see it or whatever. But at least I felt like I got my release from it. And if people have questions, I can, you know, see note 1A or whatever. I'm sure that you'll get around to it eventually.
Yeah, I had considered that, and then I was also just like, is that really necessary? And I think I become a little bit less reliant on Facebook while there, and then also, but like, now I'm considering it in a certain sense, because it's like I want to start asking about, like, rehoming Johnny, my cat, and finding a car, and then so if, like, I don't have a preface, then
the responses to both of those are just going to be like, I thought you were. Which, I mean, they already will be, because because like not everyone is going to have like read like the one post anyways.
True.
So I'm back in all my full ambiguous glory, and this time not in a vertical cell phone camera, although don't really expect much more of me when I'm by myself. But yeah, it's I don't know. It's I'm gonna find something to do at this new juncture, and I'm happy to have the support of my friends around me. I'll probably be living some futon life in Orlando before too long, a futon that I am grateful for, and yeah, if for some reason someone has any questions that they'd like us to tackle or address, feel free to put them in the comments. Otherwise, later.